All right, you guys, welcome back to part 2. So this is margin of error continued. So you can see these are the notes we just took in the previous video, and now we're going to move on to margin of error. Now we need a formula. Okay. All right. So before I jump into the problem here on the right, okay, let me tell you what I've got written down here over here. Okay. So I've got this P with this caret over it. Okay. So it's a small P. All right. And I need to be able to come up with that value. And so I have to take my sample and I got to divide that by my population. The best example I can give of that is UR Charter High School has, let's say, 752 students, okay? So that would be, let me go over here in a different color, okay? So you're not seeing me talk about it. 752 students, and I'm going to talk to the freshman class, and I'm just making up numbers, and the freshman class is got 128 students. So that's what I'm talking about when I say sample, okay? And then who am I working with out of however, what's the total population, okay? All right, MOE. So that is margin of error, okay? Margin of error. This is how I calculate my margin of error. Okay, so I am going to need a calculator. So I take 2, I multiply by the square root, and I've got this funky fraction in here. Okay, I've got p, the small p, parentheses, 1 minus p, parentheses, divided by n. Now what's n? N is the population, so I'm going to use that number twice. Okay, all right, so let me model for you one of the things I do to help me solve a word problem that has all these variables that are going to be involved. All right, so let's look at our example on the right. Okay, it says a survey was given to a random sample of 240 voters in the United States to ask about their preference for a presidential candidate. Of those surveyed, 192 respondents said that they preferred candidate A. Okay. All right. So right now, that's my sample and my population. Okay. And even then, these are probably not even the best words to use because I'm obviously not talking to every single voter in the United States. But right now, I've got this population of 240 people. Okay. So population, I've got 240 people. This is also going to be my N. So it's going to serve two purposes. All right. And my sample, I've got 192 people that I'm working with. Okay. All right. It says at the 95% confidence level, what is the margin of error for this survey expressed as a proportion to the nearest 1,000? All right, now proportion, what does that mean? Okay, that's like 1 over 2, 1 to 2. So 1 over 2, that's a fraction. Fraction, secretly, is a decimal. Okay. All right. So let's take this information I have here and let's plug it into my formula. So my margin of error, my MO, okay, let me put an equal sign, not a semicolon, is going to be 2 times the square root of, okay, well, I actually have to do a little bit more work here. I need to figure out what P is. So my P is my sample divided by my population. So 192 divided by 240. Okay. So 192 divided by 240. Okay, so that is 0.8. Okay, so that is my P, that caret over it. Okay, so P is 0.8, parentheses, 1 minus 0.8 over N, we go back over here, N 240. Okay, all right, now let's talk about Desmos really quickly here. And let me pull that up, because if you do not have a graphing calculator, you have a graphing calculator available to you on your Chromebook. Okay, So 2 square root 0.8, 1 minus 0.8 over 240. All right, so you can type this in all at once, but you've got to go slowly with it. So 2. All right, let me move some things around. Hide, pull up my keyboard, square root, and inside that square root, I'm going to put divide because that now created my fraction. All right, so in the numerator, 0.8, parentheses, 1 minus 0.8, on the bottom, 240. Okay? All right, so if you need to see that again on Desmos, okay? 2, I pulled up the keyboard, square root. Right here, before I typed anything in, I hit the division symbol, okay, so divide, or it's that / on your keyboard, divide, and that created my fraction, and then I just typed it in. 1 minus 0.8, close the parentheses, divide by 240. There's my decimal, okay? All right, so let me write that down. So equals decimal 0, 5, 1, 6, 3, 9. Okay, and I just wrote out a few decimal places because I need to go back to Delta Math. All right, Delta Math says the nearest thousands. So there's your tens, your hundreds, your thousands. So that means 6 is going to impact. So 0.052. Okay, 0.052. Submit my answer. There we go. Okay. All right. Now, let me just tell you something. So it says right here, it says determine the mole as a proportion. And the problem, it says a proportion. I don't want to make this video any longer than it has to be. Okay. You may be asked to express it as a percentage. Okay. Which means you take this decimal and you convert it to a percent. Okay. And if you want to convert to a percent, you multiply by 100. So percent multiply by 100. Okay, well, that just moves the decimal places 2 spaces to the right, 5.2%. Okay, that's how you're going to do these set of problems. If you need help beyond that, let me know. Text me via Remind or send me an email.